Have you ever wondered which Clair is the strongest for you? We're going to go through a little quiz and help you identify which one is your secret superpower. After we identify which one is your strongest, we're going to talk about how you can develop it even more. So make sure you stick around to the end so you don't miss any of the tips and tricks I'm going to share today. First, let's talk about 4 of the main Clairs. So what is a Clair? For every physical sense, there is a psychic or intuitive sense that goes along with it. So think about your vision. The psychic sense of vision is called clairvoyance. For hearing, it is clairaudience. For feeling, it's clairsentience. And for knowing, it's claircognizance. There are many, many other clairs for other senses like smell and taste and touch. However, we're going to focus on these 4 main Clairs today. So let's go through my mini quiz, and you're going to want to grab a sheet of paper or your phone notes so you can write down the answers because you're going to need to tally them up at the end. The first question is, when you walk into the room, what do you notice first? A, the vibe. B, a random thought. C, a song lyric or a whisper. Or D, a mental image. Give you a minute to think about that and jot it down. A, a vibe. B, a random thought. C, a song lyric or a whisper. And D, a mental image. Question 2, your best friend is upset. What do you pick up on first? A, you feel it. B, you just know. C, you hear their tone. And D, you see a movie in your mind. All right, think about what resonates the most with you. Ready for question 3? You're trying to make a big decision. What guides you? A, your gut feeling. B, a knowing which decision to choose. A voice. D, images, visuals, symbols. So now I want you to take a look at all of the answers that you selected and tally up the number of A's, B's, C's, and D's that you selected. If you selected mostly A's, your strongest Clair is clairsentience. That's that clear feeling and emotional sense. If you chose mostly B's, that's claircognizance, that clear knowing. If you chose mostly C's, that's clairaudience, and mostly D's, clairvoyance is your strongest Clair. So I'd love to know what your strongest Clair was. Put that in the comments below. And let me know if you agreed with the outcome of that little mini quiz. Let's talk about how the Clairs show up. Claircognizance or clear knowing is when you get a download. Many people describe it as a download. You just get information that you know, and sometimes it just blurts out of your mouth. I had this experience when my husband was telling me a story about a coworker who had a party planned, and I just knew before he told me and finished telling the story that the party had been canceled because somebody got sick with COVID, and I just knew that. Clairaudience, on the other hand, or clear hearing, shows up in words most of the time. If you haven't checked out my video on signs and symbols, I tell a story about a symbol that was coming through my intuition for me with a little squishy rhino. And the rhino fell off the dash into my lap, and I just knew I need a bull. The words, I need a bull, came to me. If you haven't checked out that video, it's a really cool story. I'll post that in the description below so you can go check that out. But that's a clear example of clairaudience. Sometimes the voice, it just sounds like your own voice. It's never, at least in my experience, a voice coming outside of me, like I hear a ghost or God or spirit like saying the actual words in front of me. It's more like I hear it in my mind. Sometimes it comes through with song lyrics, whether they're just in your head or maybe a song pops up on a radio. Sometimes it does pop up like that. But many times it's like a little voice in your head. Or sometimes you're reading something and the words, like you keep rereading a certain sentence or a couple words, and you just see that there's something to it. That's clairaudience too. Clairvoyance. Now this one is the strongest for me. And we all have every single one of these clairs, but most people have one or two that are stronger than the others. The fun thing is you can learn how to develop every single one of them stronger, which is where we're going to go next. But clairvoyance, that clear vision, and for me, again, this is the strongest, it are the visions, the images, and most of the time they show up like your imagination. You might see an apple in your mind, you might see some kind of video playing out in your mind, and that is your indication that it is clairvoyance. Clairsentience, or that clear feeling, is when you feel things in your body. Sometimes it is so overwhelming that you can't separate it from your own feelings. It feels like it's coming from yourself, although it is your intuition or psychic abilities coming through. I just told a story in another video about going to the grocery store, and I walked in, I was all excited. There were a couple things I really needed and was excited to try and pick up. And I got in the store and I was like, oh, I don't want to be here. It's cold here. It just like, I just had this overwhelming sense of, I want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore. And when I took inventory of what was going on around me, I saw a situation happening with a child and their mother. And I realized in that moment, I was picking up on all those feelings. If this is interesting for you and you haven't downloaded my ebook, that you grab that today. I'll post a link in the description. It takes all of this information even further. It's not filled with fluff and explains all the foundational pieces to intuition and psychic development that I think you'll find really helpful. So going back to the example where I talked about the squishy rhino, clairaudience is not my strongest clair. Like I said before, clairvoyance is what normally pops up for me first. But sometimes you don't even notice when this stuff is happening, and those other clairs can be even stronger than the ones you feel most connected to. So don't ignore the signs. Make sure you are tuning into everything coming through all your senses all the time, because you don't want to miss any of the messages coming through. So let's talk about how you can develop each of these 4 clairs. Let's start with claircognizance, again, that clear knowing. And the best thing that I have found for this is automatic writing. When you get a blank piece of paper or even your phone notes and you identify a topic and you just put the title of the topic. Let's say you want guidance on a particular person that you've been struggling with at work. Let's call her Nancy. Write your question to your intuition on top of the piece of paper. Intuition, tell me how I can resolve the difficult issues with Nancy at work. Clear your mind by taking a few deep breaths and just start writing. Don't think about what you need to write. Just write whatever feeling is coming through you. Now, some of this might be your logical mind creeping in, but the more and more you practice, the more and more you follow the method and practice and all of the tools that I teach on this channel, the more you'll be able to discern what is your intuition versus what is that ego logical mind. For clairsentience, that feeling, start paying very close attention to all of the feelings that are happening in your body all the time. I like to periodically throughout the day pause, take a couple deep breaths, and just feel what is going on in my body. And then once you identify what the feeling is, you can ask your intuition to show you what that feeling is meaning. And you'll be surprised by the clarity that you get, whether it's yours or whether it's your intuition speaking to you, and you'll start to understand the reasons behind it. So if you are picking up on somebody else's feelings, understanding why you're picking up on the feeling and understanding why they're feeling the way they're feeling. And even if it is just showing you your own emotions and they are truly yours, you can start understanding why you're feeling that way. And if you want to shift it, you can start using your intuition to help you shift those feelings. For clairaudience, picking up on the most subtle sounds really builds this skill. By just meditating, closing your eyes, relaxing, and in the summertime, this is really fun because you can go outside and hear all of the different layers of the birds and the bugs and the dogs barking. I love to do this. Not only is it really relaxing, especially if it's a sunny day and you can feel the sun beaming on you, but it allows you to pick up all of the different layers. Clairaudience doesn't necessarily come through those actual physical sounds, but by picking up and noticing the sounds around you, it helps you start to identify what is outside you, what is within, that's that intuition or psychic ability speaking to you. So for clairvoyance, that clear vision, drawing up images in your mind. When it's your intuition speaking to you, you're not putting those images there. They are coming from, what I like to say, from nowhere, right? They just pop up into your mind for no rhyme or reason. But when you start working on your visualization skills and creating a lot of detail to your imagination, those skills will start to be there when it's your intuition speaking to you. So the more detail that you can build and see and hold in your mind during practice, that will transfer, again, kind of like what I just explained in the clairaudience, that's going to transfer over to your clairvoyance. So for instance, take an apple. Close your eyes. Again, always coming at this practice from a place of relaxation, taking those deep breaths, and picture an apple in your mind. Then I want you to build that apple up. Picture yourself holding that apple and turning it around in your mind, and look at the difference in colors as you turn it. There are different hues. There might be a little bit of green in there. There might be some brown spots. And then look at the stem and turn it over and look at that little bottom part on it, and just take in all of the detail of that apple. Once you get good at the apple, you can choose an orange, you could choose different fruits or vegetables, or you can picture a location. I like to picture the beach and looking at the detail in the waves, how they're coming up, how far it's coming up on the shore, and all of the little details in that water moving. And I'd also love to know what you're doing to develop your own clairs. Put that in the comments below. And I think you'll really like this video on the 5 steps to develop your intuition.